All right, so let's talk about the Minolta PS, or Minolta Ps. I don't understand the name. Anyway, it is a 35mm panoramic point-and-shoot camera with an f4.5 24mm lens. It's autofocus, auto exposure, and auto flash. It achieves its panoramic 3:1 aspect ratio, approximately 3:1 aspect ratio, by cropping the heck out of a normal 35mm film, which means you treat your roll the same as you would with a normal 35mm film camera, same amount of shots and everything. I personally love this camera. It scratches that itch I have when I'm getting bored of shooting with a digital camera all the time. With this, most of the boring parts of shooting, like checking your shot, changing your settings, thinking about editing later, they all fade to the background and you're left with unique framing and pure enjoyment. That being said, you get what you get, and with the limited shutter speed of maximum 1/200th of a second to minimum 1/1/4 of a second, it's a lot of motion blur, and that's not something everyone likes. I have shot about 200 shots, well, like 180, with this camera, and my hit rate is about half, which is more to do with the fact that I just found out the max shutter speed is 1/200th of a second, and less to do with the camera itself. I think if you're more prepared when going into it, you'll do better than I did. Here are some of my favorite photos I've taken. Here are some of my least favorite photos I've taken. These two rolls shot in Hawaii were with Cinestill 800, which was definitely a mistake. I would recommend a film with a lower speed so that you're not overexposing most of your shots like I did. Okay, so we've got a pros and cons list that I'm reading right here. The pros is tiny, fits in your pocket, take it anywhere. It's genuinely one of the first cameras that I've had that it does not add any problems when I'm taking it somewhere. Just, I can not think about it and have it with me all the time. It's very nice. It's easy. Again, you just don't really have to think about it and just shoot with it. That's the best part of the entire camera, by the way. Just having it with you and not thinking about it. That's pretty great. It's cheap. I think I bought mine for 40. I looked it up when I started making this video, and it's like 40 to 60 bucks for these now. Unique aspect ratio. It makes you think different when shooting and framing and stuff like that, which is super fun. And I hear a lot of people talking about like, oh, just get a regular 35mm film camera and then crop it later. That's not the point. The point is, as you're framing up in a different way. It causes you to take more unique images and just really have more fun with it. It's relatively sharp for how cheap the camera is and how small this little lens is. What else can you ask for? Kind of sharp. I think 24mm is the perfect focal length. It's just wide enough. Okay, the cons. Moving on to the cons. It's got the limited shutter speed. That's the worst part of the camera. It really limits you. But if you know that that is what you're going to be dealing with going into it, yeah, you can work with it. Hold still, you're fine. I don't know if it's just my unit, because I bet you can see it's pretty banged up. But the automatic flash goes off almost every time. And there's a secondary button, it's the only other button you really press, to turn off the flash, and you have to hold this while taking a picture to turn off the flash. It doesn't work. Most of the time it'll still turn the flash on, so what I find myself doing, holding this part down, and then for backup, I'll just put my finger over the flash unit and then take a picture. It's a small negative. It's a cropped 35mm. It's not very big, but it's big enough. And this is how I've been posting on my Instagram with it, and I think it looks great. It doesn't work for large prints. I mean, obviously, it's not that big of a deal, but you can see that there's not a huge amount of resolution there. If you're thinking about getting it, it's cheap. It's fun. Just get it. It's 40 bucks. You can afford 40 bucks. Boom, slap it down, have fun, take it with you places. It'll give you unique photos that you haven't taken before because it's a different aspect ratio. It's making you think differently about photography. I think that's awesome. Yeah, highly recommend it. Buy it if you're bored. Buy it if you're bored. This is a buy it if you're bored camera. Okay, that's all I have to say. I guess bye forever.